Putin signed decree to kill Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky and its political leaders after capturing Ukraine in 10 days. The secret document leaked out by the Moscow Insider. The document is not verified, but it may be true. The news of assassination attempts on Zelensky came out many times following the beginning of Russian military aggression on Ukraine since February 2022. Secret mission of assassination attempts failed due to intelligence protection around Zelensky's security from various international agencies, CIA, MI6 and other operating in Ukraine. The secret document leaked about the health of Putin. It claimed that Putin is suffering from pancreas cancer and other diseases. The pale-colored hand of Putin suggested by many medical experts that Putin would not survive much. Putin dreamt to take control former USSR part Ukraine before his deathbed revealed by the secret agencies. Recent report also suggested that Putin fainted at the constricted soldiers' mothers' meeting in Moscow. The world will see peace in coming years if these aggression doesn't reduce. Russia and China had flown nuclear bombers over Indo-Pacific Ocean to show military power to the West, citing the conglomerate of the West and NATO hegemony against Russia. The depletion of munitions stockpiles, mainly air defense systems supplied by West and NATO countries to Ukraine, invites Russia readying for air bombardment supremacy over Ukraine, even though losing many Su aircraft since the beginning of the aggression. Russia needs to buy time to tired soldiers to stretch the war over a prolonged period without more embarrassing moments following complete withdrawal of Russian soldiers from Kherson import corridor to the Crimea. Russia is ready to negotiate for peace talk and buy time to control over the 4 territories in Ukraine, but Zelensky, supported by the West and NATO hegemony, does not want Putin regime not over in Russia. Russia's invasion of Ukraine entered its second week on Thursday, an apparent tactical failure so far, with its main assault force stalled for days on a highway north of Kyiv and other advances halted at the outskirts of cities it is bombing into wastelands. The number of refugees who have fled Ukraine rose to more than 1 million, the United Nations said. Hundreds of Russian soldiers and Ukrainian civilians have been killed, and Russia itself has been plunged into isolation never before experienced by an economy of such size. Despite an initial battle plan that Western countries said was aimed at swiftly toppling the Kyiv government, Russia has captured only one Ukrainian city so far, the southern Dnipro River port of Kherson, which its tanks entered on Wednesday. The main body of the large Russian column advancing on Kyiv remains over 30 kilometers (19 miles) from the center of the city, having been delayed by staunch Ukrainian resistance, mechanical breakdown and congestion, Britain's defense ministry said in an intelligence update. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has remained in Kyiv, releasing regular video updates to the nation. In his latest message, he said Ukrainian lines were holding. "We have nothing to lose but our own freedom," he said. The U.S. Defense Department is trying to speed up the delivery of 2 advanced surface-to-air missile systems to Ukraine, as Russia has increasingly used Iranian-supplied drones that explode on impact to pummel Ukrainian cities and infrastructure. The Pentagon's effort is just the latest evidence of a newly urgent push by the U.S. and its allies to help Ukraine build a comprehensive air and missile defense system to protect itself against these drones, which killed 4 in an attack on Kyiv on Monday. The drones have become an increasingly urgent problem for Ukraine, and one that has drawn U.S. condemnation. The State Department on Monday said that the drones are a violation of a UN Security Council resolution which restricts certain arms transfers to or from Iran. A U.S. defense official told CNN Monday that the Pentagon is now trying to accelerate the delivery of 2 National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile Systems, or NASAMS, systems owned by 12 nations and already used to protect Washington, D.C. The U.S. has already committed 8 NASAMS to Ukraine, including the 2 being accelerated, according to Pentagon officials. The U.S. first announced it would send 2 NASAMS to Ukraine on July 1 in a Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative package of military assistance, and announced it would send 6 more on August 24. The systems are currently being manufactured by Raytheon in a joint partnership with Norway's Kongsberg Defence and Aerospace, according to the Pentagon. The U.S. now is hoping to complete manufacturing 2 of the systems by the end of October or early November, perhaps as much as a full month sooner than originally slated. Once the systems are completed, they must still be transported to Ukraine. The NASAMS will be flown to a nearby country and then shipped overland into Ukraine. Drone attacks reflect Russian weakness even as they remain deeply concerned about the success Russia has had with the Iranian drones. Sources familiar with the intelligence and Western military analysts say that their heavy usage reflects a weakness in Russia's arsenal. Western officials believe that Russia is running low on its precision-guided munitions, and, according to one source familiar with Western intelligence, is likely on the brink of dipping into its strategic reserves to continue the war. Russia still has plenty of older, less precise Soviet weapons, the source familiar with Western intelligence said, although it's not clear how much of the old Soviet stockpiles Moscow has managed to bring to the fight because the West doesn't know how many were sold or stripped for parts after the Cold War. Still, Ukraine remains deeply vulnerable to attack from the air. At a meeting of Allied defense chiefs focused on Ukrainian aid last week, U.S. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, said that the U.S. and its allies should contribute air defense systems they have and then help Ukraine knit the systems together to create a comprehensive defense. Many countries have other systems. There's a whole series of Israeli systems that are quite capable. The Germans have systems as we mentioned, so a lot of the countries that were here today have a wide variety of systems, Milley said. Milley suggested if multiple countries send the air defense systems they have, Ukrainians can link them together with a command and control homepage. Home news: weapons in Ukraine aren't flooding Europe's black markets, but that could change. Charles R. Davis, October 27, 2022, 4:33 p.m. Download the app. Soldiers lifting boxes full of weapons on tarmac. Servicemen of Ukrainian military forces move US-made FIM-92 Stinger missiles, a man-portable air defense system (MANPADS) that fires an infrared homing surface-to-air missile designed to down enemy aircraft. Sergei Supinski AFP. Via Getty Images. The volume of weapons sent to and in Ukraine has raised concern that some could end up on the black market. But European authorities and arms control experts told Insider there's little evidence of that, yet. I don't think we've actually seen any real diversion, particularly outside the country, said expert Elias Yusuf. Top editors give you the stories you want, delivered right to your inbox each weekday. Email address. By clicking sign up, you agree to receive marketing emails from Insider as well as other partner offers and accept our terms of service and privacy policy. Not since the last World War have so many weapons been sent from the United States to battlefields in Europe, a fact that has enabled Ukraine to resist and even embarrass a formidable Russian adversary. But the influx of guns into a country with a long-term corruption problem has also raised concerns, good faith and bad, that the fog of war could provide cover for a booming trade in illicit arms. The Kremlin, predictably, is stoking fear that the guns used against its invading force could end being sold to the highest bidder and ultimately end up in the hands of criminals or extremists. A considerable part of these weapons have already entered, or will soon enter, the black market. Maria Zakharova, a spokesperson for Russia's foreign ministry, told reporters this month. Pro-Russian media has aired similar claims of a mass diversion of arms meant for the front line, some citing a retracted CBS report that included a source claiming only 30% of weapons sent to Ukraine made it to the battlefield. One conspiracy-inclined website, purportedly citing anonymous Ukrainians, claimed that the weapons are stolen to such a degree that Ukraine, as of August, had already lost the war because of the black market diversion. It takes an almost incomprehensible lack of shame for Russian propagandists to complain about arms in an active conflict zone, of the Kremlin's own creation, possibly ending up somewhere else. The invading power has itself sent a staggering number of weapons to Ukraine, delivering them for years to local proxies in the Donbas and more recently to conscripts who have promptly abandoned them, armored personnel carriers, howitzers, rocket launchers and all, as Russia's sure thing victory has begun to look a lot more like a quagmire. The good news is that, according to authorities and arms control experts who spoke to Insider, Fears that advanced Western arms to Ukraine would fuel the illicit arms trade have not been borne out, with weapons intended for the military in fact being used to push back Russian forces. There's been a lot of disinformation, Elias Yusuf, a research analyst at the Stimson Center, a Washington-based think tank focused on international security issues, said in an interview. In July, Yusuf co-wrote an article urging US and Ukrainian authorities to develop a plan for stockpiling weapons at the end of the conflict. As of now, he said, I don't think we've actually seen any real diversion, particularly outside the country. The biggest factor is that Ukraine is locked in an existential battle that has united a sometimes fractured country. Many of the combat arms meant for the front lines are quite identifiable, and diverting them would be an act of treason for a Ukrainian. Small arms, rifles and pistols, are one thing. But Ukraine has also been provided more advanced weapons systems that donors have been loath to give to others before. Washington, for instance, has provided the country's armed forces more than 1,400 shoulder-fired Stinger anti-aircraft systems, or MANPADS, which are capable of taking down a commercial airliner. The fear that the weapon could end up in the hands of extremists led the CIA to intervene in Syria to prevent rebels fighting the Assad regime from ever getting them. The Biden administration has also delivered more than 10,000 grenade launchers and small arms to Ukraine, along with more than 60,000 rounds of ammunition. Similarly, the UK has sent more than 5,000 point-and-shoot NLAW anti-tank missiles to Ukraine, weapons that can readily target and destroy most moving vehicles. Ukraine has also received a huge stash of weapons, often of Russian import, from neighbors like Poland. The fact that such arms are being provided to Ukraine, and on such a scale, indicates that Washington and its allies are less concerned about arming a military with a central command than a decentralized network of rebels. For one, those allies are capable of deploying a limited number of personnel in Ukraine to monitor their donations. The Defense Department, in June, said it was considering sending teams to conduct such end-use monitoring. The Pentagon did not respond to a request for comment on the status of such a deployment. On Thursday, the U.S. State Department announced a plan to assist Ukraine and some of its neighbors in accounting for imported weapons, especially MANPADS and anti-tank missiles, and to help them detect any illicit trafficking. Ukraine has also created a commission to monitor the influx of arms and reassure allies that they are indeed being used on the battlefield. Some weapons are also affixed with GPS trackers, the country's defense minister told the BBC.